My name's Bill Bowden. I'm a resident of the Taunton Mills Asylum for the Criminally Aged. And my name is not really Bill. I was named after an uncle who was killed in the war, and that's why they wanted me to take his name. I was born in a small village called Darley Dale near Matlock in Derbyshire in England. Lived with my grandparents at the time. I think it was because my parents were so poor they couldn't afford to have a house of their own. I would describe myself as a bit of well, my parents would describe me as a little bit naughty. So we got up to some mischief. Not major. We'd go and, steal apples and peas from the local allotment. We never spent any time inside. Summer holidays were out. In fact, the bane of our life was having to stop for lunch. I hated school. I hated the grammar school, so I asked to leave halfway. I asked my parents if I could go to the local. It was a college, a bit like Durham College used to be, like a community college almost. I saw this thing called Learn Basic in computing. So, and I don't know why that appealed to me, but it did, and I went and enjoyed it. A couple of months later, my mum says, "I've just seen this ad in the paper. They're looking for these trainee programmers." And I guess I'd been telling her how much I'd enjoyed this. I said, "Why don't you apply for that?" So I did. Gave me an aptitude test. Apparently I scored higher than anybody had ever scored on it. I must have had a natural ability for that. But I had a good career, and I ended up doing that until I was 73 years old. Yeah, I got offered a job by the Ontario government. So we thought about it, why don't we give it a shot? So we started the process of emigrating to Canada. We came to Canada, and my attitude was, I'll give it a couple of years. And it wasn't part of a long-term plan or anything like that. They paid for me to come here, so it was perfect. All my friends in England thought I was crazy, and to a certain extent I was. But it worked out. And I think one of my philosophy in life has always been just make the most of it. I've had problems along the way, but you can't live your life dwelling on those problems and going, I wish I'd done, No, you'll end up with killing yourself with stress or something. So I tend to look very positively at everything. Hence getting married a week after knowing my first wife. So that was a big decision. But I didn't dwell on it, and I didn't, spend a lot of focus on it. I just decided that would be a nice thing to do, and we did it. And that marriage lasted 15 years, so it wasn't totally wrong. I mean, it's funny, the things you remember most are not the good things in life. I think they're more the tragedies in life. And one of the biggest tragedies I had was with my second wife, and she had 2 daughters. And one of them got cancer when she was 16, I think it was. And as far as I was concerned, I was her dad. She'd been 4 years old, I think, when I first got together with her mother. And so she was like the daughter to me. And we fought that cancer for 4 years, and then she eventually lost that battle. That is one of the things that sticks in my mind more than anything else. You're not supposed to bury your children, right? So her name was Trish, and we started a charity in her name. By then we were living up in Little Britain, of all places for an Englishman. And the local community had a fundraiser for Trish. And for us, it was almost embarrassing. We didn't need that money, so it was a little awkward. But it was Trish who said, we should be doing things like this for people all the time. So after she passed, we created what we called the Trisha's Wish Foundation. Because it was her wish that we helped other people. And that ran, I think, over 20 years. And I still wear the bracelets in her name. We'll raise money to help another family that are suffering what we suffered, which was to have to deal with a teenager, basically, with a health problem, and it didn't matter what the problem was. But we wanted to do it. We will give you the money, and what you do with it is up to you. We kept the name Trisha's Wish Foundation, and we gave money directly to, I think it was people between 12 and 18, something like that. And we ended up helping an awful lot of people that were in that older age group. It was a very local, community-driven thing up in Little Britain and the Lindsay area. I mean, you know, it certainly helped my wife deal. I mean, it was her child. I mean, she was only my stepdaughter, but it really helped my wife deal with that because she'd been through it, she'd witnessed it. So she was able to almost comfort other people who were going through similar things because of what she'd been through. So that was very powerful, I think, and it was good for her to almost have that release, you know, instead of, she could have sat at home and brooded about it, you know, poor me, but she didn't. It was tough. It was a tough life, and yeah, not one that I'd want anybody to have to go through. I think I've probably surrounded myself with people that think very similar to me, that life's too precious to waste. You know, go out and enjoy life.